In the last video, you guys saw me drive up to Shasta Farm Equipment in Cottonwood, California, and pick up my new Arrowquip squeeze chute. And today, my goal is to get this thing off of the trailer, and then I want to walk through my working corral and kind of show you what all it's going to take to get this installed. And no, this video is not just going to be me walking around talking about my new chute, although that will be some of it. There's still plenty of other work that needs to get done today. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. We're back here at the ranch with the TN95. I am very hopeful that this tractor has enough grunt to pick this chute up. I think the chute weighs about 2,000 pounds, and that's pretty close to the maximum of what this tractor can do. So let's cross our fingers and hope that this works. If it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board, maybe start taking parts off of the chute to lighten it up or figure something else out. But let's try this first and hope that it works. So I'm having a little problem here getting the forks to line up. It's because the tongue of the trailer is too high. Fortunately, that's a very easy thing for me to adjust. I can just drop the tongue jack a little bit. That looks a lot better. Let's try it again. So there is a little bit of a problem. My forks are not quite long enough to reach all the way through without interfering with the head gate bar. So it looks like that head gate bar is actually really easy to take off. So I'm gonna see if I can do that, and then I won't have to worry about accidentally bending it while I pick this thing up. So looking at this, I think we've only got one bolt right up here. That's the only thing holding this this square tubing on. Over here at the back of the chute, it just floats in this bracket so that it can turn, so that actually makes it really easy to remove. I say it's really easy. Let me do it first, and then I'll tell you how easy it is. So, I'm feeling much better about this now. The bar that activates the head chute there, it really, you know, because of the way it operates and because of the fact that you can slide that handle up and down and have it wherever you want, there's nothing that supports it in the middle. So what I was worried about is that when I lifted up on my forks, that the top of the forks here were going to be under that bar, and they would have bent it. So that would have not been good, although a very easy part to replace. Also a very easy part to remove and just not damage in the first place. So let's try this again. Well, I'll tell you what, the squeeze chute's every bit of what that tractor can handle. It might actually be easier when I place it because I'm gonna be picking it up from the bottom. That's why I set it on top of these blocks right here. And I think the hydraulics are a little bit stronger when it's low down like that. I could be wrong. Anyway, it's off the trailer. It was very heavy, but we did it. So we got the chute off of the trailer. That is a pretty big accomplishment in itself. If I'm being honest, when I was coming over here with the tractor, I was kind of like 50-50 that it would do it. As I've sort of hinted at before, putting this chute in the place of my old one is not going to be a very simple or straightforward task. There's a lot of modifications that are going to have to happen in order to get this all set up right so that everything works the way that I want it to. And I kind of want to just show you guys everything that I'm up against and just kind of give you an idea of what it's going to take for me. It's not going to be this hard for everybody, but it's just because of the way that my facility is laid out and the way that things are. This is going to be a little tricky. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The first problem that I have is this gate to get into the working corral. This gate is a little bit less than 10 feet wide, and the chute as it sits is right around 11 feet. Actually, it might be more like closer to 12 feet with the head holder on here. I didn't think of that. So I've got a couple of choices here of how I can deal with this problem. The first one is I could put the chute back on the trailer when I'm ready to install it, back the trailer in here because the chute would then fit. It'd be coming in here a long ways, and then have the tractor staged right here so that when I back the trailer straight in, I could just pull the tractor straight up, pick it up off the trailer, pull the trailer out, put the chute down. You get the idea. So that's one option. Another option would be to pop this post out of the ground, remove these boards, or just cut them off at the next post and give myself a wider opening here so that I could just pull the chute straight in with the tractor right over here to the slab and set it down. This might sound like sort of a silly option, except that this post is rotten and it does need to be replaced anyway. So I'd kind of be killing two birds with one stone if I did things that way. The fact is, I have kind of wanted to change this corner and make it more rounded so that cattle don't ball up. Anytime you got a working corral with a square corner, cows tend to ball up in that corner, and this one's no exception. So this might be a good time to sort of rework what we've got going on here. This is, you know, one of those temporary solutions that has now been in place for a countless number of years. So we've got some options here, and this is, I'm kind of leaning more towards pulling this post out and redoing, you know, fixing this up right while we're bringing the chute in. But we shall see. So once we get the chute into the working corral, then we can take down these old panels. This is, you know, maybe one good thing about them. They're easy to get out of the way. And once they are out of the way, then we need to figure out how we can set that chute in the spot where the chute goes. Again, this is something that should be easy, but because of the way I am set up here and the exit of my chute is right into the barn, I've already got this head gate as close to the barn as I want it to be because the cattle are having to turn as they exit. So the closer it is to the barn, the harder it is for them to do that. Because of that fact that I don't want to stick out any further, that means that the additional 4 feet on the Arrowquip chute are going to have to go back here where there is an alleyway. And if you remember last summer, we poured a bunch of concrete back in here to make a ramp going up to the chute, and that's not going to be in the right place as well. So what does all this mean? Well, there's just really no getting around the fact that I've got to cut this alleyway back, and that in itself is really not that difficult to do. We'll take some measurements, but just from some rough measurements in my head, I think we'll probably have about, hi Callie, we'll probably have about 2 feet of alleyway extending past this post, and then we'll be able to cut off the alleyway there, and then from that cut forward will just be all chute and vet cage from now on. That means I'll have to shorten the catwalk that Callie's sitting on, and I will have to get these posts out of the ground, which is going to be fun because they are cemented into the ground. But I think, especially with now the ground is sort of wet and soft, now is actually the best time of year to attempt to do that. And you saw how strong the New Holland loader is. I think it can probably pop these out no problem. And if the loader can't do it, then the 3-point ought to be able to. So once the old chute is out of here and the alleyway is cut down to the proper length, we're still not done. The Arrowquip chute is compatible with these Gallagher load bars. In fact, they're gonna bolt right on with no modifications, which is gonna be really nice for me. But what that means is that I need to extend back this slab a little bit so that all 11 feet of that Arrowquip chute have a concrete slab to sit on, so that I can anchor these load bars into the ground and then bolt the chute to them. That means that I'm gonna have to remove the concrete ramp that I poured last summer and then build like a new form around this slab to extend it back to where I want it. So thank goodness I did not tie the concrete ramp into the existing slab with rebar. I just poured it on top of there. So I am optimistic that I'll be able to get the loader bucket in here and just pop that ramp out. It'll be very heavy, but I think the loader should be able to do that relatively easily. And then I am also optimistic that this ramp leaving the chute can just stay where it is, and we can use that with the Arrowquip. So if you look at the old chute here, from the bottom where it mounts to the load bar to the top of this piece here, it's about 7.5 inches. So in other words, if this chute was sitting flat on the ground with no load bars, the animals would have to step over a 7.5 inch ledge to get up into the chute. Now we look on the Arrowquip, we've only got a 3-inch step to get into the chute on this one. So that's 4.5 inches difference there. And the reason why any of this matters, or why I'm taking the time to tell you all this, is that when the Arrowquip is sitting on the load bars, which add, well, I think I know, but let's measure it so I know that I know. The load bars add 3 3/4 of an inch. The Arrowquip frame is 3 inches. So with the Arrowquip sitting on the load bars, it's only going to be 6 3/4 inches off the ground, or that's how big of a step the animal has to make to get onto the chute. In other words, with the Arrowquip sitting on the load bars, it is still lower than this chute with no load bars sitting on the ground. And the whole point here, what I'm getting around to saying, is that I don't think I need an entrance ramp with the Arrowquip chute, because it sits low enough that it's not really posing a step hazard for the cattle to get up onto it. They will still have the exit ramp, because I'm not gonna do all the extra work to remove this when it's not going to be in the way, but they really don't need it. And I don't think that I'm going to need to pour an entrance ramp like I had to do with this setup. You know, we'll save our judgment until we've got it all sitting here and can actually look at it. It might look like a bigger step once I get it all set up, but I think it's going to be fine just how it is. So cut the alley back to accommodate the longer chute, extend the slab back to accommodate the longer chute. It doesn't sound so hard. I mean, there's some work there, but totally doable. But allow me to throw one more wrinkle into the plan here, and that is that we are coming right up on calving season, and the idea of dismantling my squeeze chute and my working area when there's a possibility that I might have to pull a calf, help a calf nurse, or any number of things that could happen, that, you know, that presents another challenge. And then one more thing, or probably the last time that I plan to use this chute, is I need to weigh the harvest steers before their appointment that's at the middle end of March. So a lot of considerations, a lot of things to think about. Let me tell you what my plan is. First, weighing the steers. There's only one way to do that, and that is in the configuration that we're in now. I mean, I don't think that I have enough time to tear all this out, pour the new slab, get everything set up, and get the boys weighed before their appointment. It would be just cutting it so close. And I need to get those weights, because that is like the last big piece of the puzzle. This whole trial that I've been doing this year, tracking their growth at different stages, I'm not gonna miss out on getting those numbers. So if I go get the boys, let's say next week sometime, I can run them through here and get weights on them. And at that point, we can start tearing things apart. But what about calving, you say? We got calves coming soon, probably around the end of March. Odds are, I don't want to jinx myself, but I think I can have this conversion done by then, but let's say that I don't. Or let's say that in the meantime, we get another foxtail in an animal's eye or something along those lines happens. What are we gonna do if we don't have a squeeze chute? My plan is to take the old chute and set it right here in front of the loading alley. There should really be no instance where I need to load a cow during the next several months. If there is, you know, because things can happen, it's not so hard to just pick that old chute up and move it, load a cow, put it back. We can do that. But what this will give me is a lot of peace of mind, because I will still have a functional chute at the end of an alley that I can get cattle to. This would not be ideal for like running the whole herd through, because they exit out here into no man's land. There's no fence out here or anything like that. But if I just am working on one at a time, it's pretty easy to just get them to back out of here and back down that alley and put them back where they came from. In the instance of the calf with the foxtail, this would have been fine. We could have ran him up here, done what we needed to do, and then backed him on out, put him back where he needs to go. If we have to pull a calf, something along those lines, we could do this here too. Get mama in the chute, get the calf out of her, and it's going to be a little bit more carrying of the calf for me, which is fine, but we can back her on out and put her into this holding corral, and then everything should be okay that way. So I think the last question here is, once we get everything converted over, get the new chute sitting here on the scale ready to go, then we will no longer need the old chute over at the end of the loading alley, because we'll have the new one. So at that point, what is to become of the old chute? I've got a couple of ideas for this old girl. The first one would be to just sell it, you know, because while it's not as good as what our new chute is, it still is functional, and it could serve somebody perfectly fine for, I'm sure, many more years to come. And then I've also kicked around the idea of just keeping it, just having it here on hand as a spare. Why I would ever need a spare, I can't even really imagine why I would, but you know, it seems like just because we have it and it's here, that maybe that would be a good idea. The big problem with that is that it's not so easy to just move this thing around, because you would need, or I would have to run and borrow my dad's tractor to move it. I suppose I could put some sort of a wheel kit on it to move it around. And, you know, then that got me thinking, well, maybe I could take this chute and make one of those like portable corral systems that you see. One of you actually emailed me requesting that I do this, and it did get me thinking that is something we could do. That way, if I needed a portable corral at the winter pasture, I would have something. If I needed a portable corral at the steer pasture, I would again have something. The thing about making a portable corral system is that it would be a pretty expensive project, and I'm just not sure that as much money as I would have to spend to build that, if it would really be worth it in the end. But these are just kind of all of the ideas that I've been considering. I feel like I have been talking a lot, but that's what we're up against with this. If you're wondering, why have I not just, you know, gone head first into this, getting this installed, that's why. I need to get some weights off of that scale, and then, you know, all the other considerations that I mentioned. And if you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of trouble just to switch over to a new chute, it is, but I just keep thinking about, once I do get everything switched over, just how much nicer it's going to be, because this chute it's better for the cows, it's better for me, it offers more options of how I can safely treat them with the head holder and the vet cage. There's so many things about this that make it worth doing this extra effort to get it in there. And I just keep thinking about, when we're working everybody through in the springtime, this should be all ready to go by then, but just how nice that's gonna be. Next thing I gotta do is a job that I really don't care to do. I don't like plumbing especially when it's underground. I actually don't mind it when it's above ground, but I've got a broken pipe here. It took me a long time to figure out what was going on because we were getting so much rain that this big pool behind the house didn't really seem abnormal. But as things are starting to dry up, and this is not drying up, it kind of let me know that there was a problem. So the other day I was back here poking around and I couldn't really tell where any water was coming from. But then the dog started playing and stirring all this mud up, and I noticed that the water started to get clean almost immediately right at the base of this riser. And sure enough, when you look closely at it, you can see there's water flowing out of here. So as much as I do not like doing jobs like this, one other thing that I've learned is that standing around thinking about how much I don't want to do it doesn't get it done. So let's get after it. Oh, we've got a giant root here, which is probably what broke the pipe. I don't know how easy. I might have to go after some pruning shears or something to get this cut out of here. Well, we got some of it there. And I know some of you are going to notice there's a gas line coming up right here. The gas is shut off, so hopefully that won't cause any problems. If it does, you won't be seeing this video. Yeah, I hate digging in mud. But still better than my old job I used to have. There's a couple things going on here that's really making this a lot harder than normal. One, these roots, you almost can't dig this with a shovel because every time you put a shovel down in there, it gets caught on a root. And then we've got a gas line running through here somewhere. I would presume the gas line is deeper, but I don't really know that for a fact, so I don't want to just start stabbing violently with the shovel trying to cut through roots. So what I'm doing is just kind of excavating this by hand, and it's so wet and sloppy that that's not actually as hard as it sounds. I've pretty well got this dug out down to where it's broken. I could feel the water shooting out, so I know that I'm at the crack. And what it feels like to me, we've got a galvanized riser, and then the pipe that's underground is poly pipe. That's like a sort of soft black pipe. And the way that you attach galvanized to that is with a barbed fitting and a hose clamp. I can feel a hose clamp down there, so that's why I think that's what's going on. So I'm going to attempt to reach the screwdriver underwater. If I can feel around, hopefully I can pop the hose clamp, get it loose, and then I should be able to pull this riser out. Oh yeah, that's not gonna budge. Okay, move on to a different plan. Well, the hose clamp wasn't coming off, so I'm gonna try to just cut that poly pipe. It's pretty easy to cut. Okay, I think we got it. Why aren't you coming up? So, unbeknownst to me, this faucet, I thought it just elbowed back around the house, but apparently it tees and goes off this way to I have no idea where. So I'll have to cut this again, and then I'll go turn the water back on and see which side of the T fitting is charged, so I then know which side to plug. I think we got it. There we are. Now that I've got this faucet piece out of the ground, you can see a little bit better what was going on down there. You've got this black poly pipe that comes into either side of the T, and one of these was cracked, and I'm guessing that's from roots pushing on it. The fix for this is to come in here with some barbed fittings that have caps on them and just plug that pipe up so that nothing can leak. We won't have a faucet here anymore, and that's okay because I can't even think of the last time I used this. Important thing to remember here is put the hose clamp over the pipe first in such a way that I'll be able to get it with a screwdriver. Like that. And I put a little bit of grease on the barb there, hopefully help it slide in a little easier. We'll see. We're finally finished with this. I got the plug in there, which was a lot harder than it probably should have been. I don't know what the deal. I think usually when I put barbed fittings in that poly pipe, it is exposed to the air, so it's a little bit warmer, thus making it a little bit more pliable. But when it's underwater like that, it's gonna stay cold, and there's really not much you can do about it. So I finally got it in there, tested it, nothing's leaking, everything seems good. And I noticed that the pressure tank was waterlogged again, so I'm draining it right now. All I've really got is the single faucet here to drain it. I should put a drain valve in here somewhere, but you know, that's down the road. So while I'm waiting for this thing to drain, it's a good chance to do some drills with Belly. I've been trying to teach her to have a good stay and a good sit and a good lay down, you know, all the basic things. And this is a good time to just kind of test her a little bit, see what she's got. Just stay. Okay, come here. Good girl. Good girl. That's getting too easy now. You're doing so good with your training, girl. Yes. Very good. She's really doing awesome with that. I think the hardest things for dogs are like the things that make them break stay the most would be if you're running around or if they can't see you anymore. And those are the things that I've been working on with her. Well, fast forward a few minutes, the tank is completely drained. We got everything turned back on and it seems to be holding pressure. So for now, I think we're good to go. Checking on things over here at the winter pasture. We got 20 cows and they are not excited to see me. And the reason that that's important or significant to me is that it tells me that they're not hungry. I haven't brought any supplemental feed over here for them in several days now, and things seem to be going well. The cattle look like they've got good body condition and they're not pushing on fences or anything like that. Normally we'd be getting pretty close to getting calves about now. This is the end of February as I'm filming this, and there are years, or have been years, when we would have already had a calf by now. In previous years, the target date for calving was always March 15th, but this year I turned the bulls out about 2 weeks later, so we really shouldn't get calves until late March or maybe beginning of April. Either way, it's a little early to be trying to spot bags filling up or anything like that. And if you guys remember, when we turned the bulls out, they both went to the same cow and started riding her almost immediately. Common sense would dictate that she will be the one that has the first calf. It may or may not work out that way. But I think when we start getting a little bit closer to calving, that number 65 is the cow that I'll be looking at first. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.